There is a small town in Iowa called Villisca, and in 1912 it had a population of just over 2,000 people, where everyone knew everyone, and doors were left unlocked, and children played in the streets until dark. And nobody in Villisca locked their doors at night, because that was a different time, a safer time, or so everyone believed. And the Moore family lived in a plain two-story white house on East 2nd Street, where Josiah Moore was a successful businessman, and his wife Sarah kept the home, and they had 6 children, and the youngest was only 5 years old, and the oldest was 11. And on the evening of June 10, 1912, the Moore family attended a church event in town and came home happy and came home tired and went to bed. And 2 of their neighbors' children were sleeping over that night. So 8 people went to sleep in that house on the night of June 10th, and none of them woke up. Because at some point after midnight, someone approached the house, and the front door was unlocked, and he simply walked in. And the first thing he did was not attack. The first thing he did was close every curtain and cover every mirror. And then he went to the kitchen, and he found the axe. And then he turned off every single lamp in the house. And then, in a house full of sleeping people, he sat down and he waited. And investigators later estimated he may have waited inside that house for up to 2 hours before he went upstairs. And the next morning, a neighbor named Mary Peckham noticed that the livestock had not been fed and the children had not come outside, and the house was completely silent. So she knocked on the door, and there was no answer. And she tried the door, and it opened. And she did not go inside because something stopped her, and she called the town marshal instead. And when investigators entered the house, what they found inside would be talked about for the next 100 years. Because every mirror had been covered with cloth, and every curtain was drawn tight, and every lamp had been extinguished. And the axe was found leaning against the wall of the downstairs bedroom, wiped completely clean. And a piece of the axe handle had broken off during the attack, and the killer had taken it with him. And the killer had also brought a plate of food into the house and left it on the kitchen table, partially eaten. He had eaten a meal in that house that night, while 8 people lay dead above him. And the town of Villisca was never the same again, and people who had never locked their doors began locking them that same night and never stopped. And over 100 suspects were investigated across several states, and a traveling preacher named Reverend George Kelly became the prime suspect. And he was tried twice, and the first trial ended in a hung jury, and the second trial returned a verdict of not guilty, and he walked out of that courtroom a free man. And the real killer was never found, and nobody has ever been able to explain why he covered the mirrors, or why he waited inside that house for hours before going upstairs, or why he ate a meal calmly after what he had done, or why he cleaned the axe and leaned it carefully against the wall. And the Moore house still stands today at 508 East 2nd Street in Villisca, Iowa, and it has been turned into a museum, and you can visit it and walk through every room. And for $20, you can spend the night inside. And many people have. And many of them have reported children crying in rooms that are empty and footsteps on the stairs at night. And others have packed their bags in the middle of the night and left without saying why. And more than 100 years have passed since that night in June 1912. And the names of Josiah and Sarah and their 6 children are remembered. But the person who walked into that house and covered those mirrors and sat in that darkness and waited was never punished. And whoever he was, he got away with it. And somewhere in the silence of that Iowa night, he always will.